I've recently updated the Deoxys Defense Forme PvP IV Deep Dive. Those updates are already live on the article on GamePress, link in the description, but I can't update a video I already made. I have to do an update video letting you know what's been updated, a little supplemental thing. So that's what this video is, the update to the Deoxys Defense Forme PvP IV Deep Dive. And you don't have to worry too much, not a lot has changed for the Deoxys Defense Forme, just a few minor highlights, but overall the content from the past still the same as it is today. Now, if you're not too familiar with how like true stats in Pokemon Go works, like breakpoints, all that kind of stuff, link up above and in the description to my PvP IVs simplified video. Basically, get your feet wet before you go off in the deep end here. Highly recommended. So starting out with Great League PvP, here are the recommended IV spreads. These are the IV spreads I recommended in the past, and they're still the same IV spreads I'm recommending today. So what's significant about these IV spreads? Well, they're stat efficient or Pareto efficient, depending on what you want to call it. Basically, the rank 2 and the rank 4, for example, aren't included on this list because they have the same attack and the same HP as the rank 1, but they have lower defense, which means at the end of the day, they're always going to be an objectively worse version of the rank 1. And when it comes to the rank 3, same attack, but higher HP. Lower defense. So because it has the higher HP, that means that it's not objectively inferior to the rank 1 100% of the time because it's got that higher stat. So that's the principle that this whole list is based off of, and I still stand by this list because reviewing these in the Matrix and various matchups and stuff, I really can't say that one particular IV spread, one particular stat weight is, vastly superior to any of the other ones, so they're all good. You got 216 options that are basically going to be as good as any of the other ones. You may as well pick the ones that aren't inferior when it comes to the stats. And this whole concept is explained a bit more in the article and in the previous video. So if that wasn't enough for you, hopefully my old content can supplement you a little bit more there. So what has changed for Deoxys Defense Forme in the Great League? Well, only one thing really, and that's Lanturn. Lanturn has always been a threat to Deoxys Defense Forme, but it's never really been in the spotlight. Now that Lanturn has Surf, it's now considered more of a meta threat, and it might be worth Deoxys Defense Forme thinking about that thing a little bit more than it has been for the past year. To get a breakpoint on Lanturn, you need to have at least a 102 attack stat. Well then, the solution is pretty simple then, right Ryan? Just go for a 102 attack stat and call it a day. Now you beat Lanturn, right? It's not so simple. See, this attack breakpoint is based on the rank 1 Lanturn. Rank 1 Lanturn is the 0, 13, 14. So as you can imagine, there are going to be a lot of Lanturn that have higher defense weights than that. In fact, there's 108 different Lanturn that have a higher defense weight than that, which means you need to pump your attack up even further beyond. Now you could have the rank 67 or 77 max attack Deoxys Defense Forme, right? And even then, there's going to be 25 different defense Lanturns that just have too much defense for you to handle. You'll never get the breakpoint. So given how inconsistent it is, I feel like it's something that Deoxys should be aware of and look for in its matchups, but it shouldn't be the main deciding factor as to which Deoxys Defense Forme you're going to go with. And then to add to this, I haven't finished my Lanturn PvP IV Deep Dive yet. I hope to have it finished within the week here. But if Lanturn doesn't even favor having defense at all, maybe it favors having a higher attack weight or something like that, then there's a high probability that lower attack weight Deoxys Defense Forme are going to get the breakpoint anyways. So it's like, it could happen. Maybe it won't happen. But at the end of the day, I do kind of favor attack-weighted Deoxys Defense Forme to begin with, just because it subverts expectations and does basically all the same stuff as the other ones do. So that's still my preference, and I feel like this is just another thing added to the preference list, but definitely isn't changing the game for Deoxys Defense Forme. Maybe a little bit, because them attack weights, pretty good. Now, even more good. Potentially. Also, people want to know what my personal priority list is for Deoxys Defense Forme IVs, and this is what I got right now. Basically, I favor attack weights to begin with, but if you need something to guide you, you only have so many options, you're just unsure, well, this is how I, favor the IV spreads here. And I wouldn't say like the rank 20 or 21 are like bad or anything. They're still better than 213 other Deoxys Defense Forme IV spreads. They're just my personal, least favorite. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean they're bad, so don't worry about it. They're all good. It's just, the higher attack weights have a little special place in my heart. Now moving on to the Ultra League, there actually have been some changes with Deoxys Defense Forme in the Ultra League. One thing that hasn't changed though is how it's a big waste of money. Deoxys Defense Forme still isn't that good in the Ultra League, so why spend like 50 bucks getting all the XL candy for it when it's not even that good, you know? I have friends that are like in love with Deoxys. It's one of their favorite Pokemon. So, you know, despite my recommendations, they still went after it, and they have used it in the Ultra League, and they can confirm that it is quite disappointing. Its performance, not that great. So I just want to let you guys know that if you think that having an XL Deoxys is your secret ticket to flip the script on the Ultra League, it's your special secret Pokemon, I don't think it's going to go down that way. And when it comes to, like people that write articles or do YouTube videos, streamers, gurus that are sitting back going like, oh man, look at my Ultra League Deoxys, it's so good, it's blowing everything up, psycho boosting all the Giratinas, oh my god. Just know that they do have an incentive to put a positive spin on their content and make stuff look good. And it's going to be your money and your time spent getting that XL candy, not theirs. So just overall, my cautionary tale when it comes to this. But if you are really interested in Ultra League Deoxys Defense Forme, the recommendation is still to go with an attack-weighted Deoxys Defense Forme. What has changed from the previous deep dive is that I'm now focusing on the 132.28 attack stat exclusively, and I'm not really thinking about the bulk stat all that much at all. Before, the HP stat was important for the Registeel matchup. Registeel has Zap Cannon now, so the HP check, it doesn't matter, basically, because of the change in the damage there. So because we're not worried about HP, we can now focus on, higher attack weights. So going for a 132.28 attack weight will be just a little bit better, right? With this attack breakpoint, it's, I guess, most notable for getting a breakpoint on Galar Stunfisk, allowing you to flip the 2-2 shield scenario, which can be pretty helpful if you're stuck in that matchup. But if you went for the slightly lower attack weights that I talked about before, which encompass, Charizard, Shadow Abomasnow, Umbreon, and Talonflame, that attack weight's still going to be relevant there. So if you've already, I guess, spent 50 bucks on Deoxys Defense Forme, your money has not been wasted. But if you haven't done that yet, and you're looking to do it, then going for the slightly higher attack weight is going to be the recommendation here. And here's a PvP IV table showcasing the 37 different IV spreads that meet a 132.28 attack weight on the Deoxys Defense Forme for the Ultra League. Given that you are going to be going all the way for, you're going to be doing so many raids that you're probably going to get a lot of these IV spreads. I would say my preference is going for the 132.8 attack stat, so you do get that Rock Slide breakpoint on the Umbreon. But looking at the matchup again, I think with the change in fast move consistency, now that things are much more consistent than they were before, you may be off by one counter to actually KO the best buddy Umbreon. So take that for what you will. At the end of the day, I haven't really spent a lot of time with Ultra League Deoxys now. I didn't spend a lot of time with Ultra League Deoxys then, and I really don't think you should use Ultra League Deoxys, so take all this for what you will. The big ticket, though, is going to be the Talonflame matchup, and then after that, everything's just gravy. So that about wraps it up to the update to the Deoxys Defense Forme PvP IV Deep Dive. If you got any questions on this content, of course, comment below, let me know what's up, and I'll be happy to help you out. And of course, you can check out the article on GamePress, and my previous video covers way more information than this video does. I kind of glossed over a lot of the relevant stuff for Deoxys Defense Forme, especially in the Great League. I kind of gave you the Spark Notes version. If you want the full disclosure, link in the description to the article and the video. And of course, if you enjoyed this content, you want to see more like it, maybe you want to learn about that Lanturn PvP IV Deep Dive, well, make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. SwagTips. I'd also like to give a special shout out to these Patreon supporters. If you want to support Swagman on Patreon, link in the description. But because we can't trade Deoxys, we're stuck with the 10 IV floor. You can only have, 10, 11, 12, how do you